Let's get your training dialed in so you can start making progress towards the standards. This is the last setup video I'm making for now. You should have already watched the tasks and habits and nutrition setup videos. Now let's get your training scheduled on your timeline to fit your ideal schedule if that is something you want. If you don't want me to schedule workouts and routines on your timeline, you can always go to on demand, into the health or NASM OPT model workout collection, and you can execute or schedule them onto your timeline from there. But if you don't fill out the form that I'm going to show you in this video, your today screen will always look like this. Even if you fill out the tasks and habits form, you won't have routines or workouts on your timeline. So this training setup form will be a task that is assigned to you when you first get logged into the app. You can also access this form in the training resource collection, this training setup form with a start button. You can access the setup forms for every category: training, nutrition, and habits for this app in the resource collections area in on demand. But before we walk through this training setup form, I'm going to show you the routines and the workouts so you know what you're getting yourself into. For routines, we're going to go into health, and you can see the 4 main routines up in this top row. Below that is warm-ups and cool-downs, and below that is all the habits from the routines. For the morning routine, we have 5 sections, and this is an ideal morning routine. You definitely don't have to do everything every day, but getting something or some of it done is good, and the whole thing is even better. The whole thing only takes 30 to 60 minutes, so let's take a look. The first section of the morning routine is the check-in, and this is body composition and progress pictures and whatever tasks are actually assigned to you for the day. You're just going to do them and check it off as part of your morning routine flow. Once you get weighed in, then you're going to have your master's cleanse shot. After the check-in, we have movement. So here we're going to start sipping on some electrolytes and lime in water, and we're going to get moving. We're going to get the blood flowing. You can walk, or you can do calisthenics, or you can do a movement flow, or you can do yoga, whatever you choose, just get moving. So if you decide you want to change your exercise, sadly, when you do that, it doesn't change the fields. So whatever you want to pick, you're going to have to click these 3 dots right here and replace the whole exercise with whatever you choose for the day. And then that will properly update the fields. If you choose calisthenic, something I like to do is 3 sets building up to max effort. So we'll go 6 RPE, add a set, 8 RPE, add a set, 10 RPE. That should get the blood flowing, get you nice and pumped up for the day. And then we're moving on to breath, still sipping on our electrolytes and lime. In this section, you have a number of good breath practices to choose from. So you can watch the YouTube video and then you can mark it off with your heart rate. I recommend using an app called Coherence to do these breathwork practices once you've watched the videos a couple times and got an idea of the form, because in this app, it will take you through the breath practice by sound, and that's really convenient. So I still like to mark it off in my morning routine in Everfit though, keeping tab of my heart rate. After breath, we move on to hygiene. So whatever normal hygiene routine you have, but it is very beneficial to do some lymphatic drainage in there. So once you've got the blood flowing, channeled that energy into your purpose, then you're going to give yourself a nice little 5-minute massage in all your lymphatic drainage points. Finally, we're going to align. So we're going to start drinking some bone broth and coconut oil, warmth for the soul. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer. We're going to study the Bible, and we're going to do our morning journal. So you can just check these off, and this is a bare minimum for sure, but I like to have it in there. And for morning journal, you can just check that off, go ahead, finish the workout, and then head on over to the habits resource collection, and you can find your morning journal in there. I'm just going to do 3 things you're grateful for, 3 good things you could do today, and 3 daily affirmations. Super simple. That's the morning routine. For pre-training routine and post-training routine, it's much more simple. Pre-training routine, we have a peak performance vortex, which I still like to mark off in here, but I do it in coherence. So the point of the pre-training routine is to get your mind ready for battle, to get into fight or flight, and then you do your training, and then we move on to post-training routine. And now we're trying to get out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So we're going to take a nice warm shower. We're going to do some lymphatic drainage, and then we're going to do the post-workout vortex, which is also in coherence. The last routine of the day that I have built in here is the evening routine. That's very similar to the morning routine, but we don't have the check-in section, and we're not going to do calisthenics probably in our movement section here. So we've just got walking, movement flows, or yoga. Next up, we have breath still. I like to do the cerebral spinal fluid meditation here, and this video is really awesome to watch to get the form down, but you still have the choice of the other breathing practices in here. And this practice is also in coherence if you want to do it there. After breath, we're moving on to hygiene again. Lymphatic drainage before bed is great, and wrapping up with alignment. So we've got the evening journal in your habits resource collection. We've got more Bible study and finishing the day with the Lord's Prayer. So that wraps it up for the routines. You can access these in on demand or in the form you can request them to be scheduled onto your timeline at whatever frequency works best for you. For training, we have this NASM OPT Model 2026 workout collection. This is a 48-week program with 5 phases. And you can read more about this program here, or you can read about it in depth in the manual in the training resource collection. For this, you're just going to go through each phase until you get through. So you can schedule these workouts on your timeline the same, or you can request them to be scheduled on your timeline in this form that we're about to go through. I just want to show you the setup of the workouts. So for the anaerobic sections, we have a joint protocol section, primary movement section, a secondary movement section, and a tertiary movement section. So this workout takes about 2 hours at the beginning of a phase, about 3 hours at the end of a phase if you do the whole thing. But it's important to know that you don't need to do this whole thing. If you only have an hour to spend in the gym, you could do the joint protocol section and the primary movement section and be great. You could also pick out exercises from each section to do each day. This is scheduled in a way where you can just do as much as you can do. So these work similar to the routines. You're going to enter the weight for the reps and RPE for every exercise in here. They're all programmed to exactly what you need to do. You just follow it day by day, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So for each exercise in this program, there's substitute options here, and for most of these you won't need to replace the whole exercise because the metric fields are all the same, but I like to think of just the every exercise by movement pattern. So within each movement pattern, there's a bunch of different variations that we can do. So those are the anaerobic sessions. The aerobic sessions are much shorter. They're all going to be about an hour tops. And for those, we've got warm up, cardio, and cool down. So for the cardio, ideally you'll have a watch to gauge your heart rate, or you can just estimate. But every aerobic session in this program is programmed specifically for zone cardio, for your heart rates. So the first phase, zone 1, is 50% heart rate. Should be super easy, honestly, like a fast walk. But it's great if you have the heart rate measuring device so you can get a specific read and follow the program exactly. The lower body workout is exactly the same as the upper body workout, but the lower body version of everything. And let's take a look at a core and power workout because those are a little bit different. In here we've got neck protocol at the beginning and core protocol at the end. And in between that, if you're willing and able, we've got activation, plyometric, core, and power also. So these three sections right here, plyometric, conditioning, and power, are going to follow a different progression than pretty much everything else in the program up until phase 5, when that is a specific power phase and their progression is the main progression. But I highly recommend you take a look at the training manual. Each phase is structured exactly the way this manual outlines. So you can see the training schedule for the phase, the workouts for the phase, and the progressions for the phase. So in phase 1, it's very simple. The progression is the same for all of the upper and lower body workouts and the neck and core sections of the core/power workout. Plyometric and conditioning have their own progression here, and then power has its own progression. And these are all in alignment with the purpose of each phase. So the purpose of phase 1 is improve muscle endurance, neuromuscular efficiency, and intermuscular coordination. So we're doing a low volume 2 to 3 sets per exercise, high reps in the 12 to 20 range, and a slow and controlled 4-2-1-1 tempo at a moderate RPE range, 6 to 8. And our cardio is all going to be zone 1, which is, for me, not even running yet. So this is a foundational phase where you strengthen yourself from the lowest level up, from the joints and form. And each phase gets slightly more intense and in depth as you go through. But it's all outlined here, and you don't have to think about it because it's all already programmed in the NASM OPT model workout collection. All you have to do is exactly what it says in here. And how it only says 1 rep in each exercise, it's always going to be like that because our rep range is progressing in whatever way throughout the program. It's going up in this phase from 12 to 20. So you're always going to be looking for the weight you can do at the assigned reps and the assigned RPE. And in the second set, or in all the following sets, you're going to use that same weight. And so the reps that you get are going to be based on your performance and the assigned RPE and your fatigue level. So those aren't assigned, those are something that should be varying based on all of those variables. And you should expect to lose 1 to 3 reps per set if you're at the proper RPE. 2 is probably the best number. Okay, so that's the workouts. You have upper, lower, core / power for anaerobic, and then you've got run, bike, and swim for aerobic. You can also get a more moderate level overview of each phase in its own header. You can see the purpose, the primary focus, and the targets for each section in the phase. And you can even see the same thing at the workout level. In the workout header, you'll see all the targets that you need to hit. In phase 1, that's super simple, but once you get to more intense phases, the targets are different for almost every section in power. You have your specific power targets, we've got our cardio targets, plyometric, conditioning, strength, and then there's hypertrophy, calisthenic options, and then we still have activation at the beginning. So if you want to read about it, it's all there. And I've also tried to include the research behind this program in here. These are really the main elements. We've got the NASM OPT model that the whole program is based on, this NSW physical training guide that I guess inspires the cardio layout, volume landmarks, juggernaut method is what basically the whole strength phase is built on. But yeah, if you want to get down to the details, I tried to include them all in here. I also should probably put links to the muscle and strength training and nutrition pyramids, because those are something that this is all heavily based on too. But yeah, just for your information. But again, you don't have to think about it because it's all programmed automatically. And if you really want to get in depth, then you can read the manual and we can talk about it on calls if those are scheduled. So for the aerobic sessions, I have warm-ups and cool-downs programmed. You honestly don't need to do a warm-up for zone 1 cardio because it's so low intensity, but I put it in there just to be uniform with the rest of the sessions as the phases progress, because you are going to start wanting to warm up for the workouts, for the aerobic workouts when they start getting harder. I didn't put in warm-ups and cooldowns for the anaerobic sessions because that is, I think, more up to the individual preference. Sometimes I feel the need to warm up. Sometimes this joint protocol is enough warm up. That's totally up to you, and that's why the warm ups are in this health category. And these are the simplified versions because the higher level cardio sessions have more in depth warm ups, but those are programmed with each of those workouts. So you can see like a phase 5, zone 5 run. The warm up, you're doing each zone of cardio up to that point. So it's super important to do good warm ups and cooldowns when you're going to go max effort. But the point of that is that if you want to warm up for anaerobic sessions like core / power, they're not programmed in there. So you'll have to go to the health workout collection and you can do it in there. Or you don't even have to track the warm up if you don't want to. Now, let's go through the training setup form. So in here, we're going to define your preferred training schedule, or you can just select the routines and workouts from on demand anytime that you want to do them. By default, there will be no workouts scheduled after the first 3 days of morning routine. So let's first select the routines that you want to be scheduled on your timeline. I would select all of them. And now let's define our ideal schedule. The example is what my ideal schedule would look like, but if you want something different, you could write out however you want it to be in here. So if you want morning routine daily and you want pre-workout training Monday through Sunday, once a day, and you want the same thing for post-training routine, and then for evening routine, you want that daily. You can just write out however you want this schedule to be in here, and I'll assign these workouts. So these aren't the same as the habits. They correlate with them, though. So if you have the habits assigned, it would probably be smart to assign the workouts that correlate with them. But if you don't want that, that's okay too. If you want to train on a more auto-regulated schedule, that also makes sense. So just let me know in here how you want it to be set up, and you can always change this by going back into the training resource collection and filling out this form again. Now let's decide what phase of training you want to start on. Probably it's a good idea to start on phase 1, but if you're in a really good place with your joint stability and your form and you really know what you're doing and you want to start on phase 3, up to you. I'm going to say start on phase 1. Now we're going to define our ideal training schedule. So I have some examples on here. The first one is as programmed. That's what the training program is designed like in the workout collection, and that looks like 2 sessions a day. You've got an anaerobic session and an aerobic session 6 days a week. There's some other examples in here too, like training once a day 6 days a week, training once a day 4 days a week, and twice a day 2 days a week, or just training 3 days a week overall. However you want to split up your training, you can make it work with this program. So if you're just doing this example number 4 where you're training upper body on Monday, lower body on Wednesday, core on Friday, obviously you're not getting the whole program done, but it's definitely better than nothing. And then maybe you could throw in some modality of cardio on Saturday. So just type out how you want your program to be scheduled in here. If you want it to be as programmed, it'll just be like example number 1. You can just say as programmed, but here's your opportunity to make this super customized to your schedule. And then you can note anything else about your schedule that you want me to know. Example, I just want morning and evening routines scheduled every day. Everything else I will get from on demand when I want it. So submit that form and I will make those changes to your profile. That about wraps it up for training. If you have any questions about how to navigate this app or how to use it more optimally, I'm always a DM away, so just hit me up.